Hi, my name's Jolene. And last month, my sister told me not to come home for Thanksgiving. She said, "Well, pretend we don't know you." At first, I thought it was just another cold shoulder. But then the pictures started disappearing. The money stopped being acknowledged, and somehow my name vanished off the house deed. They called it protecting peace, but whose peace? And what happens when the one they erased decides she's done being quiet? Have you ever been written out of your own family story while you were still alive to watch it happen? I pulled into my driveway just after 6. The sky was rinsed in that deep New Mexico orange, like the sun had one last thing to say but couldn't find the words. I was still wearing my work scrubs greased, a little stale, but that didn't stop me from noticing the envelope sticking out from my mailbox, like it had been waiting all day, just for me. It was thick, cream-colored, the kind people use for weddings or graduations. My name was handwritten in deep blue ink, the cursive looping with the kind of care that made me pause. For a moment, I let myself believe it was something kind, something that meant maybe this year I was included. I held the envelope a little too long before opening it. Inside, a folded card with a watercolor turkey, Callista style all over it, elegant, Pinterest perfect. Thanksgiving dinner, November 23rd, 5 p.m. At Mom's. Hope to see you there. Just that. No love, no we miss you, no signature. Still I smiled. My shoulders dropped. I started making a mental note of the rosemary I'd need for the stuffing, even though they'd probably forget again that it was my recipe. I walked into the house still thinking about it. I hadn't been invited in 3 years, not since Callista said my job made her energy-sensitive friends uncomfortable. But maybe this was a shift. Maybe Mom had said something. Maybe they remembered I existed beyond wiring them money. I showered, changed into soft clothes, set the card on the kitchen counter like a trophy. And then, without even meaning to, I opened the suitcase from the closet. I hadn't touched it in months. It still had a scarf from last winter. I started folding things with no real plan, just the quiet hope of being wanted. The next day, I called, just to be sure. Callista picked up on the second ring. Her voice was always rehearsed, like everything she said had been filtered through a branding team. "Hey, Jolene. Hey." "I just wanted to make sure that invite wasn't a mistake," I said. I tried to keep my voice light. "It was really nice to get." There was a pause. I could hear her exhale, almost like she'd hoped I wouldn't call. "Oh," she said. "Yeah. About that. It actually wasn't supposed to go to you." I blinked. Sorry? We didn't mean to send it. It was part of a batch I mailed before I finalized the guest list. And with everything going on, and Savannah being really sensitive to tension, we just thought it would be best if maybe you sat this one out. I stayed quiet. Callista went on. "It's nothing personal. But we're trying to keep things peaceful this year. And, sometimes your presence shifts the energy. You get it, right?" I didn't. But I said, "Sure." She hesitated. Then, the knife. "Honestly, if you showed up, we might have to pretend we didn't know you." And that was that. I don't remember hanging up. I do remember standing in my kitchen for a long time. The windows were fogged from the kettle I'd forgotten to turn off. My hands were gripping the counter, and I couldn't feel them. Everything felt like background noise, like I'd left the room, but my body stayed. It wasn't just about this year. It was about every year. About the times I made the entire meal, and someone else took credit for the turkey. About the time Mom toasted Callista for holding the family together while I was wiping pie off the floor from a dish I brought. About the way my chair was always the one at the far end, by the kitchen door, the one without a name card. Last year, I'd noticed it. Everyone had little calligraphy place cards, each tied with a sprig of thyme. I sat down, and there was nothing at my spot but a napkin. When I asked if someone forgot mine, Callista laughed and said, "Oh, we didn't think you were coming. You're always so unpredictable." She said it in front of everyone, like it was a joke, like I wasn't already 3 wine sips deep into pretending I didn't hear. That was the same year Blake brought a girl he'd just started dating, and she had a card. They even spelled her name right. I used to think it was me, that I was the one who made things hard. That maybe being the sister who worked in hospice care made people uncomfortable. Maybe my job was too heavy for holiday tables. But standing there, in my own kitchen, suitcase half-packed, invitation face down on the counter, I finally stopped blaming myself. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't text back. Instead, I unpacked. Slowly. Like peeling myself out of something I didn't ask to wear. And I folded the suitcase shut not because I wasn't going anywhere, but because, for the first time, I didn't feel like I needed to. I had always brought the pie. And this time, I wasn't bringing anything. The invitation sat unopened on the counter for a few more days after the call. I didn't toss it. I didn't burn it. I just let it sit there, its cheery watercolor turkey looking back at me like it was still trying to smile through the awkwardness. Like me. That Thursday, I was cleaning up some emails during lunch when a message from Elowen popped up, just a forwarded image, no text. Curious, I clicked. It was a screenshot of a group chat titled Turkey Table Plan. I scanned it fast, not expecting anything, but then I saw it. A digital seating chart for Thanksgiving. Mom's long dining table mapped out with names, every chair filled, except one in the corner. It had no name, just the words extra cutlery. I didn't feel anger, not immediately, just a strange cold sinking feeling like being erased twice, first from their lips, now from the layout. I zoomed in. Even Savannah's dog had a label pumpkin's pillow, but I was utensils. I didn't text Elowen back. I didn't have it in me to ask if she meant to send it. Maybe she did. Maybe it was her way of saying, I see you. Later that night, I sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling social. A post from Callista popped up, a neatly styled overhead shot of mini stuffing cups in ramekins, captioned, Testing Grandma's old stuffing recipe with a twist. Can't wait to share it, Thursday. The hashtags were a punch in the gut. Callista's Kitchen, check heirloom flavors. I stared at the photo. That wasn't Grandma's recipe. It was mine. I was 23 when I first made it. Cranberries, sage, toasted pecans, sourdough cubes soaked in broth. It tested it 3 times, finally getting it right. That year, Mom actually looked up from her plate and said, This is the best dish on the table. She even asked for the recipe. It was the only time I ever saw her write something in that old cookbook without changing a thing. That same year, she'd framed a photo of me in the kitchen, hands full of flour, laughing with Dad. That photo used to sit on the hallway table near the front door. It wasn't there anymore. Last I visited, a new picture had taken its place. Callista, holding a wooden spoon with perfectly curled hair and a guest apron from a cooking retreat in Sedona. I'd shrugged it off then, told myself it was just aesthetics. The next morning, at the clinic, one of the nurses leaned over with a smile and asked, Are you excited for Thursday? I saw your sister's post about her famous stuffing. You guys must have the best Thanksgiving spread. I froze. I smiled back. I lied. I said, She always had a flair for food. Then excused myself to the supply room, locked the door, and sat on a stool, staring at nothing. My breath wasn't coming in right. I didn't cry. I just wanted the air to stop sticking to my lungs. Later that night, I searched the family Facebook group. The event page was already up. Thanksgiving at Vera's final head count, 11. Photos of centerpieces, assigned menu slots. Callista's stuffing was at the center of it all. There was no mention of me, no credit, no comment, not even a placeholder that said, Jolene? Like it never brought that dish, like it had always been hers. The menu said, Thanksgiving isn't Thanksgiving without Callista's signature stuffing passed down with love. I stared at that sentence for 5 straight minutes. Then I went to the bookshelf and pulled down the old family cookbook. I opened to the recipe section. The stuffing page was there, sure, but the handwriting had changed. My name wasn't anywhere on it. The notes I once scribbled in pencil toast pecans first, less broth next time, were gone. It had been recopied, clean, like it had always been someone else's. That night, I didn't cook. I ordered pho from the place on Alameda, the one that always forgets the basil but never the lime. I set the container on my small table, grabbed a fork, and sat across from no one. I stared at the empty chair across from me. I didn't mind eating alone. I'd done it often. But that night, something hit different. I didn't mind being left out of the toast, the group photos, even the damn seating chart. But being rewritten, that burned. I looked down at the bowl in front of me and thought, I don't mind being forgotten. I mind being edited out. Then I reached for the family cookbook again, turned to the back where I used to jot notes, and saw my handwriting erased literally. White out. And under the page, pressed so faint it was almost a ghost, my original recipe title. My name, Jolene R. That was when I realized history isn't rewritten by time, it's rewritten by people with access to the printer. I hadn't planned to open my laptop that night. After the recipe incident, I was in no mood for more family revelations. But when I reached for my phone to check the weather, I saw the email notification from my bank monthly summary ready. I clicked out of habit. That's all it was supposed to be. One transaction stood out. It wasn't the amount that startled me. It was the pattern. I scrolled back $500, $850, $600. Month after month, 2 years worth. All transfers from my account to Vera Malloy. No labels, no thank yous. Not even a text acknowledgement. I leaned back in my chair, hands still resting on the trackpad, and let the numbers wash over me. I hadn't realized how much he'd given. Quietly, automatically. I had covered Mom's prescriptions, her dental work last spring, the broken dryer in January. Every time she said she was a little behind, I just filled the gap. I didn't think twice. I was the gap filler. And yet, they talked like I wasn't even at the table. I closed the tab and stared out the window, where the night had slipped in unnoticed. The kitchen was dim, lit only by the warm underglow from the stove clock. It was 8:12, 5 days until Thanksgiving. I picked up my phone again and called Mom. I didn't plan to argue, I just wanted clarity. "Hi, sweetie," she answered, voice syrupy. I could hear the clinking of dishes in the background. "Hey!" Quick question, did the mortgage finally clear? I asked, keeping it light. "Oh yes," she replied instantly. "Callista handled it all. She's been wonderful." I swallowed. I thought I was the one covering that for the past year and a half. There was a pause. Too long. "Well," she said slowly, "you were helping here and there, but Callista took the lead on the refinancing. The paperwork, all that mess. You know how detail-oriented she is." I didn't say anything. "And Jolene," she added, "you know how worked up you get about money. We just didn't want to trigger you. It's Thanksgiving week. Let's keep things peaceful, okay?" There it was. I was too emotional, too reactive, too intense. Always the problem, never the provider. I ended the call with some half-mumbled agreement and sat still for a long moment. The silence was loud. I walked to the hallway closet and pulled out a worn manila folder labeled House Docs. Inside were copies of transfers, scanned bills, handwritten notes from when I took over Mom's financial tracking after Dad died. None of it matched the current narrative. Not one bit. I took a breath and sat back down. Opened a new document. Title: What I've Done That No One Knows. It started slow. Paid for the new water heater when it burst during the freeze. Wired Blake $400 for a car battery last June. Booked Blake's flight home in 2019. Sent $300 for Savannah's birthday weekend at the spa. Bought the Thanksgiving turkey 3 years straight. The list kept going. Small things, hidden things, things that were never brought up, never posted about, never written into a family memory. I stared at the words. I didn't want praise. I never asked for applause. But I didn't expect to be erased. There was that year the pipes cracked in February. I was the one who called the plumber, paid up front, and followed up with the insurance. I still had the invoice. I'd emailed it to Mom with the subject line, "Taken care of." She never replied. I remembered a voicemail from Blake. "Sis, I'm a little tight on cash. Any chance you could front me the ticket? I'll pay you back right after this gig." He never did. I never mentioned it. I remembered giving Vera my login when she said she couldn't remember passwords anymore. That login still worked. I could see every payment processed in her name. I wasn't angry. Not in the way they expected. Not screaming or shouting. I was still. Like cold water poured over a hot surface, quiet steam rising off me. I added one last bullet point to the list. Continued to show up, even when they made it clear I was optional. I printed the list and pinned it on my fridge. Not for them. For me. They didn't know how much I'd carried. Maybe they never would. But from this moment forward, I wouldn't let them make me question whether I had. I may have been quiet, but that doesn't mean I was invisible. And if they couldn't remember me willingly, I was about to make it impossible to forget. It was just after 9 p.m. when my phone lit up. I'd been reading the same paragraph in a medical journal for 20 minutes without retaining a single word. The buzz startled me, and for a second, I thought maybe somehow Mom had changed her mind. That should text to say, "Come after all, I knew better." Instead, it was Elowen. The preview read, "I know I shouldn't, but you deserve to see this." Attached was a screenshot of a group chat titled Final Dinner Flow. My breath stopped halfway through my throat. Callista's name topped the messages. Her tone was as polished and smug as ever. "Let's not make a plate for her. We're keeping it chill this year, drama-free. You know how she is." Someone responded with a laughing emoji. Then someone else added, "Put her by the garage door with the coats. Or better yet, leave her off completely." I didn't respond to Elowen. I didn't have to. I saved the image, dropped it into a folder I named Proof, then turned my phone screen down and stared at the ceiling. I thought back to all the Thanksgivings I'd spent quietly cleaning dishes while they laughed in the living room. All the times I stayed late to help Mom package leftovers or mend something broken. They'd never said thank you, but I told myself that was just how our family worked. Functional in our own way. But this was premeditated exclusion. Not an accident, not a miscommunication, a choice. The next morning, I was at work, sipping lukewarm coffee in the break room, when Linda from HR popped in. "Jolene!" She smiled, setting her bag down. "Your mom's Thanksgiving letter was so sweet. I loved the part about Callista stepping up. That girl's a powerhouse." I didn't even know how to respond. "Oh yeah," I managed. Back at my desk, I opened my inbox and searched for Thanksgiving letter. Sure enough, there it was, emailed to dozens of family and friends, some of whom I hadn't seen since Dad's funeral. The subject line read, "Gratitude and growth, a family note." The body was worse than I imagined. This year, we're thankful for Callista, who's taken on so much to keep the family grounded. From overseeing Mom's house remodel to managing the financials, she's been the steady hand we've needed. No mention of me, not once. I printed the letter, folded it in thirds, and added it to the same folder that held the screenshot. Back home that night, I sat at the kitchen table and unfolded my what-if done list. It had grown. I stared at every line, from the time I paid for Blake's busted radiator to the grocery runs when Mom's card got declined. It wasn't about forgetting anymore. This was erasure. I muttered out loud, to no one. They're trying to cauterize me out of the narrative. And for once, I didn't try to rationalize it away. I stood up, walked over to my file drawer, and pulled out the records I hadn't touched in years. Bank statements, screenshots, scanned checks, copies of the wiring receipts I'd sent to Mom. Each one a quiet little echo of support. I organized them by date, slipped them into sleeves, and labeled the new folder, "Received but never recognized." Then, I picked up my phone and recorded a voice message, not dramatic, not emotional, just steady. "Hi, Mom." I saw what was sent. The group messages, the newsletter. I won't pretend anymore. If this continues, I won't be silent. I didn't expect a reply. And I didn't need one, because now I had enough truth to carry in both hands. They wanted silence. What they didn't expect was that I'd weaponize it. It was late afternoon when the text came in from June, an old friend of the family who somehow remained neutral in the quiet civil war. She probably didn't know it, but she just handed me a loaded gun. "Thought you'd appreciate this, Callista, and Travis really put on a show," her message read. A link followed. I clicked, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to. The video was a 2-minute toast, clearly recorded in Mom's backyard. String lights twinkled above a perfectly dressed table, the kind I used to help arrange. Now it was all Callista. At the center of the video, Travis stood, wineglass in hand, beaming as if he'd earned something. "This family welcomed me like I've always belonged here," he said, raising his glass. "Not everyone gets that." Laughter, applause. The camera panned briefly across the dining room wall, stopping for half a second on a family portrait, an older one. I recognized it immediately. It used to have me in it. Now it was cropped. I was gone. I closed the video and stared at the screen. My pulse didn't race. My hands didn't shake. Instead, something clicked into place. I opened my contacts and tapped Callista's name. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey," she answered. Casual. Like we weren't about to step into a decades-old minefield. "I saw the video," I said. "I heard him." She let out a small breath through her nose, the sound people make when they think you're being ridiculous. "Jolene, you always take things too personally. He didn't even say your name." "Exactly." There was silence. "You've taken my place, my silence, and now you want my absence to bless your image?" I said, my voice calm but cutting. "Be careful what you do next." She tried to laugh it off. "It's not that deep." "It is to me," I replied. "And it will be to others, if it has to be." Then I hung up. Later that evening, I stopped by a little cafe near the clinic to meet an old colleague. We'd planned the coffee weeks ago. The timing felt cruel, but I didn't cancel. As we talked about nothing, traffic, office gossip, the ridiculous price of avocados, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a group text from Mom. "So grateful to have everyone here this year. Final headcount confirmed. Keep it intimate, just 10 of us. No greeting, no signature, no mention of me." I stared at the words for a full minute before deleting the message. Not blocked, not responded to, just gone. When I got home, I kicked off my shoes, microwaved leftover curry, and sat down at my desk. I opened my notes app and created a new entry titled, "Document Every Omission." I didn't fill it yet, just saved the title. Then I opened my email. This wasn't going to be a rant. I wasn't venting. I was recording history. I wrote to only 2 people, Vera and Callista. I started with bullet points, transfer dates, financial coverage for the mortgage, the text from June, the group chat screenshot, the newsletter, screenshots attached. Then I wrote, for years, I believed that my value was in my silence, that love meant filling in the blanks without ever asking to be written into the story. But silence is protection until it becomes consent. I don't consent anymore. I didn't sign it with warmth. I didn't soften it with a line like "I still love you." I just hit send. Then I closed my laptop, set down my glass, and sat still, breathing. 2 days. That's what they had. They had 2 days to fix it. Or 2 days to double down. They chose. The day before Thanksgiving started quiet. I'd slept poorly, waking from one of those restless dreams where you're shouting but no sound comes out. The sky was low and gray, and even my coffee tasted flat. I thought the worst of it had already passed. It hadn't. Around 11 a.m., while I was reviewing patient case files at the clinic, a coworker stopped by my desk. "Hey," she said, handing me her phone with a smile. "Your family looks amazing in this video. I didn't know you guys did these kinds of things." My stomach turned. The video's title read, "Celebrating Our Family Pillars." The thumbnail alone made my hands go cold. It was a still of our mother's living room, decorated like something out of a lifestyle blog, with string lights and soft music playing underneath. I tapped play. The first clip showed Callista ladling soup into Mom's bowl. The second showed someone signing a check for property taxes. Instantly recognized the sweater. It was mine. The scene had been recorded 2 years ago. My hands, my handwriting. But the caption read, "Callista, ensuring the legacy continues." Then came the photo of me hugging Mom in the hospital parking lot after her minor stroke. That moment, the one where she whispered, "Don't leave me here alone," was now turned into a polished slideshow piece, repurposed under the tag, "Daughters Who Lead with Grace." I didn't cry. I clicked save, named the file Exhibit A, and sent it to myself. By noon, I was driving across town to meet a former classmate who now worked in property law. We'd kept in touch over the years, mostly through the occasional like on Facebook and a shared disgust for Arizona real estate. I told her I needed 5 minutes. She gave me 20. We sat in a small office lined with manila folders and outdated art prints of desert blooms. I slid a folder across the desk. "These are copies of the original deed," I said, "from 2014. I co-signed when we refinanced after Dad died." She took one look, then pulled up the most recent filing from the public registry. My name wasn't on it. "It was retitled 6 months ago," she said, frowning. "Callista's name only." I asked about the signature. She pulled up the file and turned the monitor toward me. I stared at the scrawl next to mine, supposedly mine. "That's not how I sign my name," I said quietly. "I didn't think so," she replied. "It's close, but off. And technically, if you didn't authorize this, you have a case." I nodded, then stood up and shook her hand. "Thanks, Leona." Back home, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. They drew the line. I crossed it. I compiled everything: the tribute video, the fake deed, screenshots from past bank transfers. I attached them to an email. The subject line: "You know what you did." No greetings, no explanations, just facts. The video shows moments I lived, claimed by someone else. The deed shows a signature I didn't write. The pattern shows a family more interested in appearances than truth. At the bottom, I wrote, "You've rewritten me out of our family's history, but now I've documented the edits. If this isn't fixed by tomorrow, I speak." Publicly. I didn't expect a response, but I sent it anyway. Then I texted Mom, "If you want this to stay quiet, tomorrow is your only chance to make it right." Afterward, I sat in the kitchen with the window cracked open, letting the cold roll in across the tile. I made tea and opened a blank document titled "The Full Story." I started writing not a blog post, not a takedown, just the truth. I helped build what they now use to erase me. Line by line, I laid it out. The birthdays I planned, the repairs I paid for, the hospital nights, the trust, the pattern, the silence. I transferred the files onto a flash drive. It clicked into place with a tiny sound that felt louder than it should have. Then I practiced saying it out loud. One breath, one truth, one shot. And just when I thought they couldn't stoop lower, they did. Thanksgiving morning started with a vibration. Not the kind you ignore, this one had weight. The kind that settles in your chest before your brain can name it. I reached for my phone and saw dozens of notifications, tags, DMs. Messages like, "Oof, saw that post, and are you okay?" None of them said what happened, just vague pity. I opened Instagram. The first story was a slow pan across Mom's backyard twinkling lights, a floral centerpiece with eucalyptus and dried orange slices, name cards with gold lettering. The camera held just long enough to capture the extra plate, artfully styled but noticeably alone. Over it, in white font with sparkle emojis, "This year we keep it clean, calm, and classy." The next slide was a Mamiya woman screaming at a turkey, face contorted mid-rant. Below it, the caption, "Some people bring drama, some bring dessert. Know the difference." I wasn't named. I didn't need to be. The third story? A photo of the dog I trained, sitting obediently in Callista's lap. His little sweater matched the napkins. "He always barked at chaos," her caption read. "Look how peaceful he is now." That dog had slept beside me during my recovery from surgery. He'd been mine until Mom said it was better if he stayed, for the sake of routine. Callista never even liked animals. But there he was, another thing she'd inherited like a legacy she didn't earn. I set the phone down and stared out the kitchen window. The street was empty. Even the wind had quieted. There was a Thanksgiving, years ago, when I came straight from the hospital, migraine pounding so hard I could barely see straight. I still brought the pie, still set the table, still stayed after everyone left to scrub gravy out of the stovetop burners. No one noticed. I hadn't screamed then either. Just smiled, nodded, vanished into a dish towel. But this public parade of gaslighting wrapped in hashtags and filters was something else. I stood, opened my laptop, and clicked into the video project I'd started the night before. The original tribute video had been neatly edited, a clean erase of my name, my presence, my hands. I dragged the same clips back in, but this time I added captions. Actual captions. Meal prepared by Jolene Rain 2017. Mortgage assistance wired by Jolene 2019. Thanksgiving cleanup Jolene, uncredited. I didn't post it, not yet. Instead, I opened my camera roll and found one photo, just one, that held everything. Thanksgiving 2017. I'm at the head of the table, hair frizzed from cooking all day, apron stained with cranberry sauce. I'm smiling, tired, holding the carving knife because no one else wanted to do it. That was the last year they asked me to bring anything. I posted it on my personal page. No filter, no edit. The caption read, 2017. I paid for the meal. I cooked it. I cleaned. That was the last year I was asked to bring anything. I didn't tag anyone. I turned off comments. 10 minutes later, Vera saw it. I knew because she viewed my story, something she rarely did. An hour later, I received an email. Subject line, we didn't mean harm. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The message was already clear. Their kind of peace only worked if I stayed quiet, if I stayed gone. But I was here. They called it peace, but I knew it was only quiet because they thought I was gone for good. Thanksgiving evening used to hum with rhythm chairs scraping back, glasses clinking, my mother shouting from the kitchen for someone to grab the rolls. I could still hear the echo of it in my head, but this year, my apartment was silent except for the soft gurgle of my heater kicking on. I'd made myself a plate of roasted vegetables and turkey from the market deli. Nothing fancy. No one to impress. I was halfway through my wine when the notification came in. Callista Wren has posted a new video. I didn't hesitate. The title floated across the screen in elegant cursive. Thanksgiving Gratitude. Our Legacy in Motion. The background music was soft piano, overly sentimental, like something used in pharmaceutical commercials. The video opened with Blake lighting candles, Vera placing her hand over her heart during grace, and Callista laughing with Travis like they were the nucleus of something divine. The camera moved through the table, catching moments of toast, clinking glasses, shared glances. People nodded and smiled, carving turkey, hugging mom. Everyone except me. I wasn't blurred out. I wasn't cut awkwardly. I just wasn't there. The final caption read, when we protect peace, joy finds a place at the table. I paused the video and didn't move, not even to exhale. Then, I saved it to the folder on my desktop erasure evidence. I sat for a long while. The room darkened around me as the sun went down behind the adobe walls of Santa Fe. And still I sat, letting the screen go black, my reflection staring back. And then me phone buzzed again. This time, a video message from Malcolm Ortiz. I frowned. Malcolm was a former client's son, now a friend of Vera's through church. He'd been invited to dinner, apparently. The clip was short, clearly taken with one hand under the table. It showed Malcolm glancing at a photo in Vera's hallway, an old one, of me helping Mom into her car after her stroke. My arm was wrapped around her waist, my hair up in a messy knot, my face scrunched in concern. Malcolm's voice came from off-camera. Wait, isn't that the woman who helped my mom during recovery? Dr. Rain? Silence. Then a voice, someone I didn't recognize, mumbled, I think that's her, yeah. He followed up, louder this time. She's the reason my mother is still alive. How come she's not here? In the background, you could hear a fork drop. A wine glass hit the table just a little too hard. Someone cleared their throat. The video ended. I stared at the screen, stunned. Not because someone remembered, but because someone spoke. Unprompted. Without knowing the damage he'd just inflicted on their carefully crafted narrative. 10 minutes later, I noticed Callista's story had gone quiet. Nothing new. The recap video had been deleted. Vera didn't respond to the tag in my earlier photo, but now she was watching. Then came the ripple. My cousin in Portland shared a cryptic tweet. Sometimes the person not at the table is the one who fed everyone for years. No tag. No context. But people knew. Callista didn't post again that night. Vera texted me twice and called once. I let them all go to voicemail. After cleaning up dinner, I lit a rosemary candle, poured a second glass of wine, and sat down with my journal. I wrote slowly, deliberately. I was never the burden. I was the foundation, and they mistook me for the floor. Then I opened the video editor again. This time, I dropped in clips from every year. Thanksgiving 2016, when I hosted. 2018, when I drove 6 hours to pick up mom's friend with no family. 2019, when I cooked for 14 people because Callista got a migraine and stayed in bed. I titled it simply, The Other Side of the Table. No music, no filters, just timestamps, names, and facts. I posted it, no caption, just truth. Some legacies are chosen, others have to be reclaimed. A week passed, no apologies came, not a single phone call, not even a quick text with a lazy excuse. There was no knock at my door with a guilt-ridden pie or an awkward, "We didn't mean it like that." Just silence. But silence speaks. And sometimes, it screams. The Legacy in Motion video Callista had proudly posted vanished without a word. No announcement, no explanation. Just gone like it had never existed. Vera's Facebook page hadn't seen a single update since Thanksgiving Day. The last post was a blurry, dimly lit photo of a pie with the caption, "Grateful for simplicity this year." Simplicity. That word hit different when you knew who got left out of the picture. I sat alone in my apartment and let it all wash over me, everything. The grief, the anger, the betrayal, and the odd peace that followed it. It turns out the absence of guilt is often louder than the apology you never get. And that absence, it echoed in every corner of my now quiet life. On the third day, I got an email. Malcolm Ortiz. The subject line was blank. The message? Just a few lines. "I showed your tribute to my mother. She cried. She said, 'That girl saved me.' I thought you should know. No hashtags, no emojis, no flattery, just truth." It cracked something open in me. Later that same day, another message arrived, this one from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in over a year. "I always knew you were the one holding that family up," she wrote. "I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner." It was surreal. All these quiet truths surfacing when the noise had finally faded. The next morning, I met with Liana, my property attorney. We sat across from each other in a small sunlit office. She had her glasses perched at the tip of her nose, flipping through the paperwork I'd brought. "The signature comparisons are strong," she said, pointing to the forged deed. "If you wanted to file a claim, this would hold in court." I took a breath, steady and long. Then I shook my head. "I'm not filing." She blinked. "You're sure?" "Yeah," I said, sliding the folder back toward her. "Let them keep the walls." I kept the truth. We processed the disassociation paperwork, officially removing me from all ties to the property. And when I walked out of that office, I didn't feel free, not exactly, but I felt unburdened. Like the weight I'd been carrying finally had a place to re-stand. That place wasn't my back anymore. That night, while the kettle hummed in the background, I scrolled through photos tagged by mutual acquaintances. One image caught my eye, a snapshot from Vera's dinner. The same dinner I'd been ghosted from. Everyone looked so perfectly posed around the table. Callista beamed at the center. Mom sat at the head, proudly upright. And then, there it was. A chair, tucked slightly back from the rest. Napkin folded, plate untouched. No one sitting in it, no one even pretending. They hadn't replaced me. They hadn't covered it up. They just left it there. No one mentioned it in the caption, no one explained it. But I stared at that chair for a long time. I whispered aloud, "That was mine. Still is." And with that quiet acknowledgement, I closed the photo. Later, I lit a rosemary candle, the same scent I used to bake into my stuffing every year, the one everyone said made the whole house smell like home. I sat at my desk, opened a new journal, and didn't write about them. Not this time. Instead, I wrote about Mrs. Eldridge, the patient whose son never visited, but who clung to my hand like it was the last rope tethering her to this world. I wrote about Mr. Bennett, a Vietnam vet with a crooked smile and a precise technique for folding hospital corners. I wrote about people who didn't need a family tree to see me, people who looked and truly saw. That night, I also found a nonprofit one that advocates for elderly patients forgotten by their families. They were understaffed and overwhelmed. So I reached out. I offered what I could: time, energy, heart, because I had plenty of that to give. I didn't walk away from my family out of hate. I walked away because I finally loved myself more than I needed their approval, more than I feared their silence. For the first time in a long, long while, I didn't feel like I was fading from their story. I felt like I was finally writing my own. Some families are inherited, some are chosen, but the ones who see you not out of duty but out of genuine recognition, those are the ones worth holding on to, and those are the ones I choose now. That's my legacy. Not the house, not the seat at the table, but the life I rebuilt outside of their silence. There are moments in life when silence feels louder than any scream. And sometimes the deepest betrayal isn't what's said, it's what's erased. Looking back, I didn't choose to walk away from my family out of anger. I did it because I finally understood the value of my own presence. You can only be written out of a story so many times before you start writing your own. If you've ever felt invisible in the place that should have loved you most, let this be your reminder. Your worth is not defined by the version of you someone else tells. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to leave tables where your voice is only welcome when it's quiet. I wonder, have you ever had to step back to finally be seen? What did that moment look like for you? Share your story in the comments. I read them all, and your words might just be the ones someone else needs today. If this story touched you, comment 1 or tell me where you're watching from. And if it didn't connect with you, I'd love to hear why it helps us grow, and your perspective matters. If you believe in stories that heal, challenge, and reveal truth, don't forget to subscribe. New stories are coming that you won't want to miss. Until then, choose peace, even if it means walking away.